Hi, it's Hans at ahappierman.com. Today's topic is people to avoid to have a better life. Well, I'm down here in a hotel in Playa del Carmen, Mexico. Took a little trip here. I'm starting my dream job in about a week, and I left kind of the job that I didn't like very much. Didn't like it at all, actually. That's why I got in. So I had to double the go to the dream job and to leave the job I didn't want. So that kind of, and then this being in Playa del Carmen, Mexico, and thinking back on people I've known over the years, kind of helps me to understand the types of people I don't really like to deal with. And I think it's probably kind of a common thread. And I think it'll do you, let's hear me out on this. So the type of people to avoid are the ones who try to talk you into something that you don't want to do. Okay? That's kind of it in a nutshell. For example, in a foreign country, in Mexico, like I'm from the US, the Midwest, and there's not really any place that I've been where there's so much people, as you walk down the main street in Playa del Carmen, there's a lot of shops. It's all packed with shops, and there's always men and women who work in those shops or own those shops who are trying to talk you into buying something that you probably don't want, right? So they're using talk to get you to do something that you don't want to do. So I mean that's it kind of gets reinforced in a huge way. So I'm nice about it. They'll always say cigars. I can't remember the name of the tequila, mezcal, weed, blow, all this stuff that I don't want to do. I'm not against people taking drugs. That's whatever, right? But I don't want to, right? So, but I'm constantly offered it here, and I just don't want to deal with it. I don't really like cigars. They don't agree with me. I don't really care for tequila either. I like other types of drinks. I don't want weed or blow or any of that. I did get a massage, but I don't need to get a massage every 10 minutes when I'm walking down the street. I don't really want to buy hats or jewelry or Mexican artifacts. I'm here for a different reason. So I don't want to get talked into spending a lot of money on something that I don't want. So that's kind of what I'm getting at is this, it's reinforced in a big way that your life sometimes goes really wrong when you get talked into doing something you don't want to do. Like with me, with the job I'm leaving, I kind of got talked into it, right? The owner kind of reminds me of these guys in Playa del Carmen a little bit, using words and persistent talk to get you to do something. And I don't like that. That's one of the reasons I want to leave is I just don't like to have to deal with that. Right? He, very charming, very nice, very easygoing, very mild-mannered, but, persistent and relentless. And I don't like that. And that's one of the reasons I'm leaving. And one of the things that you might learn for yourself is that you would want to move toward what you decide you want to do, not what somebody else decides they want to do you for them. So with like him and me, it's like, well, he's always telling me, well, you should do this and you should do that and you should do this and you should do that and you should this. And I know as the owner of the company, you got to tell your employees to do these things, but that's not going to work for me. And that's why I quit. And that's why I've got something else where I'll decide what I want to do. Okay. Thank you very much. So that's a big thing when you work for somebody is you want to somehow have control over what you're doing most of the time. and not get so pushed into talked into doing something that you really don't want to do. Learn to say no. And so even now, he's asked me to contact him and have a conference call, and I don't want to. Tough luck. Maybe somebody else can pick up the slack in my leaving. I've had to do this where I've picked up the slack when people left. That's par for the course, right? You just do that. I left things in a good shape, so there's really not much to talk about, right? There's really nothing to talk about. When you work, it shouldn't be that much talk. It should be the work. And that's kind of the hawkers, I guess they call it, right? Where they're trying to talk into something that you don't want. And so you just having to say no. No, thank you. Thanks, no. No, thanks. No. Or just ignore them, walk past them, pick up your pace, move along, don't look, but don't say anything, just keep walking, just keep walking, just keep walking, right? That's what you'll find is that you have enormous power by just leaving and ignoring and evading and not doing what somebody says. Just because somebody says for you to do something, that doesn't mean you have to do it. Let that sink in. Just because somebody says you should do this, that doesn't mean you need to do it. Okay? This has taken me years to understand. Years. And frustrating years at that. So, the person will say, well, you should do this meaning, well, you should do this for me, but what are you gaining from it? And it's kind of almost similar to my marriage. My wife was always telling me what I should be doing. I should do this, I should do that, I should be this way, I should be that way. And then she would criticize me severely because I didn't want to be any of those things, right? I wanted to be me. I wanted to do what I wanted to do. I wanted to enjoy my life how I like to enjoy it. I wanted to go about my business the way I like to go about my business. I wanted to think how I thought. I wanted to look how I look. I wanted to live how I did. I wanted to, simple things. I'd like to go to bed when I want to go to bed and get up when I want to get up. I want to eat this type of food. I don't want to eat that type of food. I want to have a little bit of enjoyment here and there. But that wasn't, anything. Her idea was, no, you can't have any of that. I'll decide, right? So that was a person I didn't want to deal with. I didn't want to deal with a wife who will decide for me. I don't want to. If you have that in your life, you might want to get my book, Leave Your Wife and Become a Happier Man with a 3-Step System, on my website, ahappier.man.com. But yeah, a person like that is very difficult to live with, and you don't even know why. You won't even know why, because they're, people who are good at talking and convincing you to do things that you don't want to do, they're good at it. There's a lot of people in the world like this. There's always been, and there's always will. A lot of people like to have control and power over other people. That gets them off. That's how they like to live their lives. They like to be in power over you. So, yeah. And then this takes the form in the tiniest of ways, where a guy is trying to sell you a Cuban cigar in Mexico that you don't like. I don't care for cigars. If I wanted a cigar, I'd buy one. All right, I may try one, I don't even know, but you get the idea, right? They're constantly trying to sell you something that you don't even want, right? And you don't even need, right? So that's kind of the lesson. The people to avoid are the ones who are trying to get you to do something that you don't want, trying to talk you into something. It's a classic used car salesman. We don't like that. We don't like to be sold on a car. We want to buy the car we want, we'd like the salesman to assist us in finding what we want. Now, certainly here, there's a lot of different things in Mexico to buy. There may be many things you'd like some assistance on. For example, yesterday I wanted a bandana, which is a bandana is a square cloth, and I wanted to put it around my neck because my neck got sunburned, and I wanted it to protect my neck while I'm walking around. And I found it. So I used those guys, those hawkers, and walked into dozens of stores yesterday saying, I don't want leather, I don't want Cuban cigars, I don't want tequila, all I want is a bandana. And I went from store to store to store to store to store to find it. I wanted to buy what I wanted to buy, and I bought it at the price they had it, but I used them to find it. And it got to be the point where I was just laughing at them, right? Because they say, sir, come into my stores. I said, well, do you have a bandana, a square cloth? And I would do a thing, with the square. And they say, oh, no, we don't have that. And I say, well, that's what I came to Mexico for the bandana. You don't even have that. And then I'd laugh and move on and went on to the next store and did the same thing and the same thing. And I walked up and down the street, and I did find it. Finally, a nice store, a little store, had one, and had it in this extremely cool color that is just what I wanted and just what I needed at the time. And I wanted it, so it didn't even matter. It was kind of pricey, It was a little bit pricier than what I thought, but that's what I wanted. Do you see? I want what I want, and you'll find that the more you get what you want, the happier your life becomes. The more things you do that you want to do, the better your life is. And on the flip side, the more you buy that you don't want to buy, and the more that you do that you don't want to do, the worse your life becomes. So that's why the people who are trying to convince you to buy things you don't want and to do what you don't want to do are the people to avoid. So I've had a lot of people like this, right? I've been on the streets in Mexico, and the guys are trying to get me to buy something that I really don't want. I want to spend my money on what I like to do, and I have no interest in what they're offering. And I would, and if they'd offer in a way, don't say anything, and I might walk into their store. I mean, that's just kind of how I am. I think most normal people are that way. They don't like to be sold. They like to buy what they like to buy. Give that idea a lot of thought. I've learned the hard way, and I'm learning it in a little simple way here with the hawkers in Mexico. I just learned it in a huge way with a boss who was trying to who sweet talked me into a job that I really don't like and suffered for the last 9 months, and now is even trying to sweet talk me to stay, even though I told him I'm leaving. Right? I told him I'm leaving, and I've got the job of my dreams, and tough luck on that. Sorry, but that's it. And I don't want to deal with him. I don't want to have a conference call. I don't want to email. I just want to move on with my life, right? Because I want to do what I want to do. And I had this in a huge way in leaving my wife. She was always trying to convince me to do things I didn't want to do, or she would just do them and expect me to pick up the pieces. And that made life an extreme misery for me. And this happens to far too many men. We get railroaded and pushed and coerced and manipulated and guilted and into doing things we don't want to do through employers, through family, through friends, through marriage, through whatever, right? We take on enormous debts, buying things we don't want. We go to work for places that we don't want to work for. We get married to women for the wrong reasons. We stay married to them for the wrong reasons. We get pushed and manipulated and guilted. And it doesn't have to be this way. It doesn't have to be this way for you. It does not have to be this way for you. I've learned how to become happier. I've learned the hard way on some things. I would appreciate, if you go to the website and look around, and I'd love for you to make some comments and to tell me what you need. I'd like to help you. I'd like to help you more. There's not enough people helping one another. There's not enough people. There's not enough men helping other men here. I have read a lot of good websites. They've been tremendous help to me, and I want to share that. I see a lot of men. They're getting pushed around. They're getting manipulated and guilted into doing things they don't want to do. This doesn't have to be your life. You can start making changes. You can start having a better life. Things can start going your way. So start by avoiding people who are trying to convince you to do things you don't want to do. All for now.